Okay, this is Module 4, and this module focuses on financial reporting. So there's three accounting frameworks or systems. There's financial accounting, which focuses on the needs for users outside the firm. So these are your annual audited financial statements, for example. Managerial accounting focuses on users inside the firm. So this is, reports designed to help managers better manage the organization. So a typical example of managerial accounting report would be, your budget versus actual report. And then a specialty all of its own is tax accounting, and we don't get into tax accounting in this course other than to say that, if a co-op is for profit, then it pays taxes like any other business. So when you're looking at accounting standards for cooperatives, accounting standards vary by country. So some countries do have a separate set of accounting standards for cooperatives, whereas others, such as Canada, do not have sector-specific standards for co-ops. And in some countries, cooperatives are in the not-for-profit category only, whereas in Canada, cooperatives can be designated as either for-profit or not-for-profit. They're required to adhere to accounting standards for private enterprise, ASPE, unless they're publicly accountable, such as credit unions, and in that case, they have to adhere to international reporting standards. So to illustrate the financial reporting for a credit union versus a bank, I've provided some examples in the notes. So this statement of financial position, or otherwise known as your balance sheet, for Vancity Credit Union, which is a cooperatively owned financial institution, and TD Canada Trust, which is, of course, one of Canada's big five banks. So when you're looking at these two statements, you'll see the shareholders equity section of TD compared to Vancity's members' equity. And the Vancouver's equity accounts are attributable to members. In comparison, TD's equity accounts depict the various classes of shareholders, treasury shares, along with other accounts. So you should refer to the lecture notes where you'll see the comparison of a credit union financial statements versus a bank's financial statements. And despite the fact that Canada doesn't have a cooperative specific accounting standards, like I say some other countries do, it's important to recognize that one size does not fit all. So the purpose of cooperatives is to meet members' needs, and it's not to be focused on pure profit maximization. So consequently, it can be argued that accounting standards, whether accounting standards for private enterprise or IFRS, are not always the best option for cooperatives to report their financial results. And CEARC, the Center of Excellence in Accounting Reporting for Cooperatives here at St. Mary's University, we're currently leading a project to develop an international statement of recommended practice for accounting and reporting that would be more reflective of the cooperative's needs. So just to use an example, if you were comparing, say, the salaries of two similar size co-ops, one as a co-op and one in the, investor-owned business, you might think that the co-op is not very profitable, but what you do need to look at is the differences in salaries, for example, because a co-op typically pays better wages than their counterparts in the non-co-op sector. Co-ops often pay quite a bit towards training and education in terms of paying for employees to take university courses part-time. And it's also important to look at the contribution that co-ops make to the community. These are often fairly substantial in relation to their total surplus. So we're currently working with the cooperative community in terms of the accounting practitioners in the UK to look at a new framework that would provide a better way for co-ops to explain their financial performance. So the discussion board question for this module is, since the current trend among international accounting standard setters is to move towards global comparable financial standards such as IFRS, it could be argued that the cooperative specific standards are not important. So that's a statement. So what you need to do for this assignment is indicate if you agree or disagree with the statement and provide justification for your opinion. So your response should include examples of how differing objectives of co-ops versus investor-owned businesses are not met by global accounting standards. So read the article by McCulloch, and that's located in the Module 4 folder in Brightspace, and then also look at IFRS, and the link is there, so you can use both sources to illustrate your points. So that concludes Module 4.